Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So today we are sitting down and we are doing my 2022 eyeshadow palette ranking video. I love doing this video each year. This is my third year doing it and it's so fun to just track the palettes that I try and at the end of the year sit down and really think about which ones are my favorites, which ones are ones that I would definitely skip and pass and tell you guys to not try out, and we're ranking them, baby. I have 46. I know, that's a lot of palettes. Quite a few of these were sent to me in PR. I'll try to remember to let you know which ones were. And quite a few of them are quads as well, like smaller palettes. I thought about like lumping some of them together, but I didn't. I just gave every single solitary palette a spot, whether how big or small it was. Before I get started, if you like this video while you're watching it, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. It really does help my channel out. And other than that, if you're excited and you want to see my 2022 palette ranking, let's go ahead and get started. I have on my number one palette from last year on my eyes today because I did not want to spoil any of these palettes for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and have my 2020 and 2021 palette ranking videos linked down below in case you just really enjoy palette ranking videos and you want to watch my other ones from years prior. Also on my lips, in case you are curious, I have on the Bare Minerals Lasting Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Vivacious. This is my first time wearing it today. I think it's a really beautiful shade, a little bit drying, but beautiful nonetheless. Like I said, we got 46 palettes to get through, so that's quite a few. I'm going to try to be quick and precise on my little reviews on them so we're not here for like 5 hours. In number 46 spot, the last place, the worst palette I tried this year was this one right here from Catrice. This is their 5-in-a-box mini eyeshadow palette in the shade Soft Rose Look. This is just not pigmented at all. The mattes don't show up hardly at all on your eyes, even this really dark one, and the shimmers are super lackluster. Catrice is really affordable, but I would definitely recommend a lot of other affordable palettes over this one. Granted, I've heard good things about other of these like mini palettes from them, so maybe it's just this color story, but this one unfortunately didn't work for me. Then we have this quad right here from Pat McGrath in a 45th spot. I don't even think she makes this quad anymore, if I'm being completely honest. This one was sent to me in friend mail from one of my friends. That would make sense. That's what friend mail is. This is her Celestial Divinity Luxe quad in the shade Risque Rose. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I used this one time, but the one time I used it was so bad. It was such a bad experience that I did not want to reach for it again. Both these two mattes right here just got very patchy on my eyes, especially this dark brown. And then these two shimmers, they're very pretty. I mean, it's Pat McGrath shimmer. They're always pretty, but the mattes in here are just so hard to use that I literally just didn't want to reach for it after that one time. Also, the color story is a little not cohesive for me. I don't think that was proper English, a little not cohesive for me. But regardless, you know what I'm trying to say. I just don't really like this color story. I was super grateful to have it sent to me from my friend, but just not one I use very often. In the 45th and 43rd spot, we have these 9 pans right here from ColourPop. This was a collection that launched a little bit ago. They had 3 total palettes, but after trying these 2, I didn't really want to try the third. I didn't love them. They were sent to me in PR, which I was super grateful for, but they just weren't good quality. In 44th spot, I put this one right here called Clear the Air, just because I don't love this warm sort of color story. The mattes were pretty sheer, if I'm being honest, and the shimmers in this palette are very sheer as well. Like there's not really hardly any pigmentation on your eye when you use them, which I am someone who likes a really impactful shimmer on my eye personally. And then in the 43rd spot, I did put this one, which is Clearly in Love. I ranked it a little bit higher than the other one just because I like the color story a little bit more. I'm more partial to pink tones versus like super warm orangey tones. Same thing though, mattes and shimmers were pretty sheer. I was very underwhelmed by these palettes. This next palette, I technically tried at the end of 2021, but I tried it after my 2021 ranking, so I kind of had no choice but to put it in this year, and it's the Nabla Side by Side palette. I was so disappointed in this palette. I wanted this palette for a very long time. It was on my wish list for a long time, and then Ulta ended up having it on sale, so I snagged it. And I was expecting to love it because it's a really beautiful neutral color story, but I just could not get on board with this palette. The mattes are honestly fine. They're not anything terrible. They're more on the buildable side, which I actually enjoy. It's more the shimmers. Looking at the color story, quite a few of the shimmers are a little bit more on the dark side, and a lot of them are more toppery. Again, I like a pretty impactful shimmer on my eye, so I want something that's going to give me a little bit more oomph on my eye than this gives me. I definitely can see this being decluttered in the future, sadly, and I don't know how many more Nabla palettes I'm going to try after this one. Oof, another one that I expected to love that I was super disappointed with is the Scott Barnes Natural palette. Tati raved about this palette and kind of like hyped it up, and I, again, was just expecting to love it. I totally bought it without even a second thought in my mind that I would love it. I did get it on a really good discount, thankfully, because full price, this is like 80 something dollars. I want to say 84. I think Scott Barnes did a whole like rebrand of his brand this past year, like towards the end of the year, because they were having super good discounts, like 60% off or something crazy like that. So I did get a good deal on this, but kind of the same thing with the Nabla side by side. If you look at a bunch of these shimmers, they are all more on the darker side. And with my fair skin tone, I tend to go for a lighter shimmer. Also, I just find this color story a little bit confusing. I thought it was going to be a little bit more cool tone until I got it in person, and definitely is warmer once you see it in person. And I just don't love all these tones, sadly. They just are too dark for me. I mean, good quality, I guess, but I just never reach for this, which I was super disappointed in. I thought I was going to absolutely love this. One that was kindly sent to me in PR from the brand that I don't dislike the quality of it, but it's more the color story. It's this one right here from True Luscious. This is their Furosia palette. I think I pronounced that wrong. I'm not entirely sure. First of all, the packaging is super pretty, and the shades, like I said, are not bad quality per se. Sorry, this is like blinding you with all this like gold background is like blinding you guys. This color story is a bit all over the place for me. You don't really have any neutral mattes to go in with as a transition shade. You just have this pink and then this purpley periwinkle, which while it's beautiful, it's just not a shade I wear very often. And then the shimmers are pretty, but again, just kind of all over the place. The couple of times I used this, I liked the look I made, but I look at this and I'm a little bit confused, and it's not the easiest palette for me to work with. So that's why it is ranking a little bit lower. Also, I'm not sure why, but it's like now not shutting. It was like never doing that before. So that's odd. Like it literally will not shut. I don't like that. In 39th place, I went ahead and put the ColourPop Fairy Well palette. This is a little bit newer to me. This was sent to me in PR. I didn't hate this palette the couple times I used it, but it's just not something that I will reach for very often. These are the types of tones from ColourPop that they have in 1,000 palettes. Like truly, you do not need this one. There are quite a few other palettes from them with this like cool tone, neutrally color story that I would recommend over this one. One that's going to be a little bit higher in this ranking, a lot higher in this ranking. Also, Going Coconuts, that's taupe. Like I would recommend those over this one any day. It's just not the best quality from ColourPop. The mattes were okay. It's more the shimmers, and there's 2 glitters in here that I'm just not going to use. Didn't love this one, unfortunately. And then in 38th place, I put its counterpart that came out at the same time, the ColourPop Enchanted palette. I ranked this one a little bit higher because I do like the color story a little bit more. It's a more unique in my collection. I like this palette, but it's just not one I'm going to reach for a ton. Again, not the best quality from ColourPop. They are a little hit or miss. I'm not sure why that's the case, considering they've been creating makeup for years and years and years, and they launch new makeup like every 5 minutes. You would think that you would have all your formulations down pat and it wouldn't be hit or miss, but they still are sometimes, unfortunately. So while I do like this palette, the shimmers are pretty. There's only like one pressed glitter. I don't even know if this is a pressed glitter, but there's only one shade I possibly wouldn't use. But yeah, just not a color story I reach for super often, and not the ColourPop quality I'm used to. Next up in 38th place is another palette that I was expecting to love. Most of the time when I buy these palettes, you guys, I have the feeling I'm going to love them, and then I get them in and I'm disappointed, and I'm like, I get so bummed by it. But a lot of times I do try to get them on sale, thankfully, which I did get this palette on sale, and it is the Viseart Cashmere palette. The artwork on here is so stinking cute. Like I love the aesthetic of the palette, but the color story for me, once I started actually using it and applying it to my eyes, I realized this color story is a little bit wonky for me personally, and it's mainly the mattes. So this is the only like light matte you have, and then all the other mattes are super deep, which with me being fair, I like a more neutrally lighter sort of matte to go in with as a transition shade first and then deepen it up. But I don't really have that with this palette. The only thing I can really do is mix these 3 shades with this shade to lighten it. And then I don't know, I just feel like the shimmers again are a little bit all over the place. They are good quality, like trust me, the Viseart shimmers are stunning, and the mattes are good quality as well. Like this is a good quality palette. It's just more the color story that it's very confusing to me, and whenever I reach for it, I don't fully know what kind of looks to make. So that's why it landed where it landed on my ranking. I meant to do this disclaimer at the beginning of the video, but I forgot, so I'm just gonna stick it in here. If any of these palettes that are ranked a little bit lower on my ranking are your favorites, please don't take offense to that. I just ranked these fairly quickly before I sat down to film. I had all of them like laid out, and I was like taking it really seriously at first, like moving things around and really shuffling it. And then I was like, Emily, it's eyeshadow. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. Like no one's gonna be upset about your ranking. Like, so just like I said, take this ranking with a grain of salt. Take my opinions with a grain of salt. We're all different. Makeup works different for all of us. So again, please don't take offense to any of my rankings if your favorite palette is like down here towards the bottom. All right, in the 36th spot, we have the Sigma New Mod palette. I feel like a broken record because I keep saying, I thought I was gonna love this palette and then I ended up not loving it. But that's exactly what happened with this new mod palette. When it first launched, I wanted it. I was gonna snag it right away. And thankfully, I decided to wait until I got it on sale. And I'm so glad I did because I just don't love this palette, sadly. Kind of for the same reason that I dislike the other palettes. The shimmers are very, very deep and dark in this palette. And also they are a little bit more toppery. The mattes are okay. All of the shades honestly show up deeper on my skin tone and my eyes than what they look like in the pan, which just kind of throws me off every time I go to use it. The color story is beautiful. If these are the type of tones you like and you do like deeper, richer shades, I think you would enjoy this, or you like more toppery shimmers. I also think you would enjoy this. It's not a bad palette, just for my preferences, not a favorite. Ranked 35th, we have the Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity. So this is her holiday palette back in 2020. I snagged it earlier in the year on sale when she had brought it back. I just don't like it. Unfortunately, it's the color story for me. There's only 3 mattes in this palette and all of them are super dark. And the shimmers are pretty, but a lot of them are really similar. There's also like 4 different types of gold shades in here, and I'm just not someone who's partial to really, really gold shades. Also, these like red sort of shades I don't love. I mean, the quality is not terrible. The mattes, the 3 mattes do get a little patchy on me and they are really dark, like I was saying. But I did a video trying this out when I first got it, and then I also did a 1 week 1 palette on it. And I'm not gonna lie, all 6 of those looks, I just didn't enjoy. So every time I reach for this, which is not often, but every time I do reach for it, I just don't love the looks that it made. So I'm always really disappointed and I never really feel pretty when I use this palette. In 34th spot, we have this one right here from M Cosmetics. This is her Divine Skies eyeshadow in the shade Rodin. I was so disappointed by this palette, sadly. We are still, unfortunately, in the realm of palettes that I was disappointed with and don't love. I'll let you know when the tides turn. We're not there yet, sadly. But I love the other 2 Divine Skies eyeshadow palettes I have from her. They're beautiful quality. This one was not as good quality as the other 2, in my humble opinion. These mattes are a little bit more on the dry side, which is one thing I love about M Cosmetics is her mattes are really creamy and like don't get patchy on me, but these do. And then these 3 shimmers, super lackluster. Like they hardly show up on your eye at all, especially this one right here in the middle. It's a topper shade, but it's a topper shade that doesn't really do a whole lot. So while it's a really pretty, like neutral, everyday color story, I never reach for this because I'm just always disappointed when I do. So in that friend mail I got earlier in the year with the Pat McGrath quad, she also sent me a couple of her motherships that she wasn't using, which I was absolutely blown away by. So my friend ended up sending me the Divine Rose 2 palette. So this is ranked, what number are we on? We are on 33. I like this palette. I think it's good quality and I think it's pretty. It's more the color story. It's just a little all over the place for me. The mattes are a little bit deep. And like while these 4 special shades are super pretty, this one isn't really one I'm going to wear often. I just don't love super gold shades on me like I stated. And this one is her like duochrome one that shifts from like pink to green. I just kind of think it's ugly. I'm not going to lie. I feel bad saying that, but it's just not a shade that I would reach for very often. The hot pink is pretty, but again, this color story is not my favorite color story. As you will see upcoming in the ranking, quite a few other motherships I like more than this one. I feel like the tides are starting to turn now, where we're getting into palettes that I don't super dislike. I don't plan on decluttering or anything like that. They're just not favorites. They're not ones I reach for super often. So in 32nd spot, we have another Pat McGrath palette. This is her Bridgerton palette, the second collab. I said that really weird, but you guys know what I mean. This is our Mothership Belle of the Ball palette. I don't hate this palette. I just also never really reach for it, if that makes sense. The quality is really good. It's nice. This matte is nice. I love this satin matte she has. She has it in her first collection as well. This special shade is absolutely stunning, like truly beautiful. This one is a really pretty shade. I just don't like it on my skin tone. So while this palette isn't bad, I just don't really love the color story. The first one was way better in my opinion. You will see it way higher in my ranking. So yeah, just not one I reach for. Ranked 31st, we have another ColourPop palette. This is their All Amethyst palette. I actually really do like this palette. It's just, again, not a color story I reach for very often. Also, the couple of times I did use it, it was a little finicky. It's not as bad as the ColourPop palettes that were ranked a little bit lower, but still not the quality that I know they can have. So this is a really beautiful palette. The shimmers are stunning. The mattes are okay, definitely not like the best mattes ever. These two shimmers are really, really pretty, I will say that. So this is like a nice palette. If it's on sale and you like this color story, I would snag it, but it's just not a favorite. I did go ahead and lump these two quads together, so I guess I kind of lied earlier when I said I didn't lump quads together, but I did these two. These are from Shop Miss A. This is the AOA Studio quads. This one here is in Fairy Garden, and then this one right here is called Flower Child. I was actually really impressed by these. If you don't know what Shop Miss A is or their AOA Studio brand, they're a really, really affordable brand that you can get online. Like, I want to say these quads were like $1 or $2. Like, super, super affordable makeup, but good quality. The mattes on these didn't get super patchy. The shimmers are pretty on the eyes. Not the best mattes and like best shimmers I've ever tried, but for the price tag, I was really impressed with these. And if you're someone who's on a budget, I would definitely check this brand out. Next up, ranked 29th, we have from Lunar Beauty. This is his Eternal Eclipse palette. The packaging on Lunar Beauty is stunning, like truly, absolutely stunning. And the quality is nice as well, but again, kind of like all the palettes previous to this one, it's more the color story for me. This row of mattes here in the middle are nice and neutral, and you can make kind of like everyday looks out of them, but then the shimmers don't really correspond with that. I mean, I guess you have a couple more neutrally tones up here, but not really. They're kind of more deep and dark and a little bit out there. And then this bottom row, while it's beautiful, it's just not the type of colors that I wear on a daily basis, these gray, dark blue sort of shades. So like I said, the quality on this is really nice. And I would be intrigued to try more from Lunar Beauty, but I just don't reach for this one very often. In 28th, we have this one right here from Adept Cosmetics and Heather Austin. It was her collab palette with them. I think it's absolutely amazing that she was able to collab with them. I like this palette. Again, just not a favorite. The mattes get a little bit patchy on me. And while these shimmers are super impactful, like they are stunning on the eyelid, truly, they get a little creasy on me throughout the day. I think because they are so thick and impactful, which is gonna look beautiful, they just don't really wear the best on me, even though I do wear eye primer and use the glitter glue with them as well to help them adhere to my eye. I wouldn't say they really like fall down on my face throughout the day. They just crease. But again, I think it's because they're a little bit thicker. But if you're into like an insane shimmer on your eyelid, I actually think you would enjoy this. And I think the color story and all the shades that she chose are beautiful. Then we have this Kaja Bento stack right here. This is in the shade Chocolate Dahlia. So I tried this out for the first time in my No Talking Get Ready With Me a couple weeks back I put up. Obviously I wasn't able to speak to you about it as I was using it because I had no voice at the time, but I did give it like a thumbs up while I was using it. And I kind of still agree with that. I think it's beautiful. However, I will say this deep matte that I put on the outer corner of my eyelid, it completely disappeared by the end of the day. Like it fluffed away. So I'm not sure what happened there. I definitely need to give it a go and again to see if that happens again. Did I use this again? Maybe I use this again for work. But I don't think I put this on the outer corner. I think I just put it in to the crease and I had put the shimmer all over the lid. And the shimmer is beautiful and the other matte is pretty as well. I think the color story is really nice. Like these three pair together really nicely. They're neutral and all of that. But I was just really disappointed that this deep brown seemed to fluff away. So I'll definitely keep you updated on this as I keep using it. But that's kind of why it's ranked a little bit lower in 27th place. Alrighty, then we have 4 ColourPop quads in a row. All of these were sent to me in PR, and the main reason I ranked them where I did is the color stories. So in 26th place, we have this one right here, which is Acai You Baby. This is a really beautiful purple quad. The quality on this is really nice. I don't love that this is a matte with shimmer in it. I don't know why ColourPop makes those. I just personally don't enjoy them, and I feel like a lot of you guys don't either, but if you tap your brush off, the shimmers go away. The quality on this is really nice, and like I said, beautiful purple palette in case you want to make a purple look. I just don't really reach for purples very often. Then in 25th spot, we have this one right here, which is called Sure Thing. It's a little bit on the warmer, peachier side. These are just not the tones that I typically love to go in with. I do think it's a really pretty quad, and if these are the type of shades you like, I would definitely recommend it. Next up in 24th place, we have this one, which is Shellbound. Again, a little bit on the warmer side. I do like these tones though, especially in the fall, these like rich orangey, pumpkin-y sort of tones. The two shimmers do look a little similar on your eyeballs, which kind of stinks, but still a pretty palette regardless. And then in 23rd spot, we have this one right here called Wait and See, which is funny that I ranked the blue one higher than those other two, like more neutrally toned ones. But this palette is stunning. The quality on this is beautiful. The couple times I used it, I loved my eye look, and I am not someone who's partial to blue eyeshadow. It honestly terrifies me, but I just felt so pretty in this. These two mattes are really nice, and then this shimmer right here is the showstopper. So if you want to dabble into color but you don't want to break the bank, these are a really great option. Back to Pat McGrath and a mothership. This time we have the Divine Rose 1 mothership. So I like this color story a little bit, actually a lot better than Divine Rose 2, if I'm being honest. It's just a little bit more muted, toned down, more everyday friendly. It's just not what I reach for a lot, sadly. I think these three shimmers are a little bit lackluster on my eyes. I do like the mattes in the palette, and then these special shades are beautiful. Don't get me wrong, they're Pat McGrath special shades, they're beautiful, but they're just not the tones that I reach for as much as some other motherships, which are coming up very, very soon. So while I like this, and I think a lot of people would like this color story, for the 1000th time, just not a fave, just not what I reach for very often. In 21st spot, we're back to my only other Viseart palette. It is the Petits 4's Lila's palette. I don't know, guys. Okay, I think this is really beautiful. I truly do. It's just a nice, small, little compact quad. However, my qualms are these two mattes. First of all, they look very similar on the eyes, and they are very light on your eyeballs. Like, they don't give a ton of pigmentation, which you can kind of, well, not that they're not pigmented. I guess that's not what I mean. They're just not very, they just don't have a lot of depth to them. And then also these two shimmers kind of look similar on the eyes, but I have it ranked a little bit higher because the Viseart's quality is very, very good. Like, these mattes are beautiful. They don't get patchy, and these shimmers are very impactful on your lid, which is exactly what I want. So while this is a very basic quad, you can't get a ton of looks out of it, I actually do like this, and I like to reach for it. Ranked 20th, we have the ColourPop in the Limelight palette. This is a really unique palette in my collection. I don't have another color story quite like this. I like this palette, I do, but I was slightly disappointed in the matte shades in here, only because I feel like they weren't as pigmented as I wanted them to be. If I'm buying this color story, it's for a reason. So the mattes were just a little bit more sheer than I wanted them to be. The shimmers were beautiful though. So if you're interested in these type of shades, I do enjoy this one. Then in 19th place, we have another green eyeshadow palette, and it is the BH Cosmetics Avocado Toast palette. I rank this one higher than the ColourPop one because it just has a little bit more options for me. You have quite a few pinks up here, then we have these lime greens, then these like deep, rich, spicy sort of shades. I don't know how to explain that besides just they remind me of spices. And then this bottom row right here is more of like the blue greens. I love BH Cosmetics eyeshadows. I think they're beautiful. The mattes always perform really nicely, and the shimmers are always super impactful on the lid. So I love this one. I need to reach for it more. I really, truly do. Then in 18th place, we have this one right here from What's Up Beauty. This is their Geodes palette. I was really lucky that this was sent to me in PR. I wasn't expecting them to send this to me. Then they reached out and wanted to send me a package, and I was like, yes, please. I've heard such good things about your brand. I would love to try it. And I was not disappointed in this palette at all. Again, mattes are beautiful, and these shimmers are stunning. Indie brands know how to do shimmers, and What's Up Beauty is not an exception to that. I do have this ranked a little bit lower just because the color story is a little bit, I don't want to say all over the place because it's definitely not. It just only has a couple pops of color that I'm like, what do I do with? You know what I mean? But stunning, beautiful. I like the looks when I do reach for this. This is a good one. Then we have three Pat McGrath motherships in a row. In 17th place, we have this one right here called Subliminal. This was her first mothership she ever launched. I love this one because it is nice and cool tone. If you're new here, I really typically tend to go for cool tones over warm tones on me. I just really like them. So this is a really nice cool tone color story, and this is a gold that I would actually wear. These two pops of blue are beautiful, but I just don't reach for them very often. And then this side over here are really nice shades as well. So I just have this ranked a little bit lower because I don't reach for it too often. It's a little bit deep and dark, and then those blues, but when I do reach for this, I love the looks I make. And at 16th place, we have this one right here, which is Bronze Seduction. I rank this a little bit higher because it is just a more wearable, quote unquote, color story to me. These are tones that I'm going to reach for a little bit more often. Also, this special shade and this one right here, stunning. This one too. Oh, all three of these special shades, this one, not so much, but all three of these are just beautiful on the eyes. I absolutely love them. This side is like, okay, this one was sent to me in friend mail. I don't think I would have purchased Bronze Seduction on my own, maybe here recently, because she's been doing really good sales, like 40% off. When I reach for this, I do think it's pretty. I just kind of don't reach for it very often, and I struggle with the mattes a little bit. Then in 15th place, we have her newest mothership that she launched earlier this year, and it is Moonlit Seduction. Okay, I bought this right before I found out I was pregnant, and when I found out I was pregnant, my like mind shift my mindset, I guess, completely shifted. And the last half of the year, I bought way less makeup and tried way less makeup. And something about this palette, it's so weird to like say this and like hard to explain, but when I look at it, I kind of feel sick to my stomach only because I just spent so much money on it. Obviously, Pat McGrath motherships are super expensive, and this is the only mothership that I either didn't get sent to me in friend mail or didn't get like a really good discount on. I only got like the 10% off when it first launched that she offers, and so I spent like way too much money on this. Mike's in the other room and he can hear me filming, and I don't want him to hear how much I spent on this, but I spent like $100 and something, which is just absolutely ridiculous for an eyeshadow palette. So I just don't reach for this for that reason, which you'd think I would reach for it more for that reason, because I did spend so much that I would want to get use out of it. But I just look at this and I'm like, why did I do that? But regardless of like my feelings toward this, putting those aside, this palette is really beautiful. I do enjoy it when I do reach for it. The mattes are nice. These 4 special shades she chose are really stunning. I do need to like force myself to reach for this because I look back at pictures and videos when I use this and I'm like, wow, this is stunning. Like, it's a beautiful palette. Just my feelings towards it stop me from using it, which I know is funny, but I just spent so much money on this. I just think it's a little absurd. Next up, ranked 14th, we have the Odin's Eye Soul Mane 2 palette. The packaging on this, stunning. Odin's Eye has the most beautiful artwork on their palettes from what I have seen. And I love this palette, I really do. It's more the color story as to why it's ranked, well, it's ranked pretty high, it's ranked 14th, but it would be higher quality-wise. It's just a little bit lower color story-wise because these are just not shades that I'm gonna reach for a ton. Odin's Eye quality is superb. Like, their mattes blend together like a dream. They are stunning, they're beautiful. They don't get too patchy, a little bit, but everything gets patchy on me. I'm not upset about that. Their shimmers are impactful, beautiful on the eyelids, last all day long. Whenever I do use this palette, I love it. It's just, again, not color story that I'm gonna reach for very often. I'm hoping they will come out with a little bit more neutrally toned of a palette sometime in 2023. I don't know if they will. I just don't think that's really their forte. A lot of their palettes are colorful, which I like colorful makeup. It's just, I don't reach for it super often. But regardless of that, the quality is stunning and I really do love this palette. This next palette is ranked so high only because of how often I have used it. So in 13th place, we have the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. Do I think this is like the most revolutionary palette out there? No, obviously not. It's just a palette full of matte shades, but it's got pretty much every matte shade you would typically need for an eye look, and it's pretty good quality. Is it the best mattes I've ever used? No. But like I said, it's really nice to have all of them just cohesive in one little palette for you. And like I said, it's ranked so high because I use it very often, especially for work. If I just want to throw in a couple matte shades into my crease, maybe leave it at that, throw a shimmer on the lid, a ColourPop Super Shock, anything like that. Super fast, easy, quick. And if you're in the need to add more mattes into your collection, this is a good one. In 12th place, we have the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions eyeshadow palette. This is his first one. I do like this palette, I do. I think it's really beautiful. I love the color story. I love how neutral tone it is. I hate how the packaging literally blinds you guys. I'm so sorry. I never use these cream shades over here, but that's not like the end of the world to me. The mattes are beautiful. His mattes are stunning. Like, probably one of the best matte formulations I have tried. But this one just ranks a little bit lower than the first one because the shimmers are, I don't know, just not as good. He definitely stepped up the quality for the second one. This one is a matte with like shimmers in it, which I just don't really get any use out of. And while this is a really beautiful color story, it's a very basic, neutral, boring color story. And I have these shades and a lot of other palettes. So I just reached for this one a little bit less, but it is beautiful. I do enjoy it. And that's all I have to say. In 11th place, we have the Natasha Denona Mini Zendo palette. I like this palette a lot. I think the quality is really, really beautiful. These two mattes blend together like a dream. The shimmers are what get me a little confused in this palette. This silver, I kind of just never know what to do with it. I feel like whenever I use this palette, I make the same look. I put this in the crease and on the outer corner, and this all over my lid. Sometimes I'll put this in the outer corner as well. But the quality on this is beautiful. It's Natasha Denona. Her quality is amazing. They blend together nicely. Shimmers are impactful. I do like this. I just kind of, I don't know, the silver confuses me a little bit. That's why it's not ranked a little bit higher, but I do like this. Alrighty, we made it to the top 10. My top 10 palettes, favorite ones that I tried this year. In 10th place, we have another ColourPop quad. This is in the shade Strawberry Sweet. This is beautiful. It's a little intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. If you look at it and you see this bright pink, you're like, what the heck? And it's bright pink. Like, this shows up bright pink on your eyelids. However, if that's the type of shades you like, or you're just, like I said earlier in the video, you want to dabble in color, but you're a little scared, you don't want to spend a ton of money, these are beautiful quads for you. The quality on these quads are just really, really nice. These two mattes blend together like a dream. And these two shimmers, I mean, you can tell in the pan, do not look anything alike on the eyeballs. So I feel like even though it is a quad, there's only 4 shades, you can get a little bit more variety in your looks than you would maybe typically think at first glance. So I love this one. Then in 9th place, we have another ColourPop quad. This is the last one of them. It's the On the Mango quad. When I use this, I felt beautiful. I made such a bright, fun, orangey sort of look. And I just, like I said, really, really felt beautiful in them. And these 3 mattes are really nice because they all show up completely different on the eyeballs. A lot of times if you have shades that are similar to each other like this, they kind of all blend together, look the same on the eyes. Not these 3, they really do all hold their own. And then this shimmer, stunning. Again, you have to like bright colors, you have to like orange, but if you do, I highly recommend this quad. I think it's beautiful quality and I really love the looks that I make with it. In 8th place, we have the newest palette to me, the last one I tried this year, and it is the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette. When this was first leaked, because it got leaked before it got released, I instantaneously knew I was going to pick it up. I think it's a beautiful color story. I love these tones. I love the shades. I love the greens, the pinks, the cool toneness of it. Like a lot of things about this palette I enjoy. Is it going to be my favorite Natasha Denona palette? Definitely not. This is not going to be a color story I reach for very often. However, when I do use it, I do really, really like my eye looks. And I feel like it's very versatile. You can mix and match them all together, or you can go all green, you can go all pink. A couple times I've made just an all neutral sort of look with these shades. So I like the variety in here. You can make a lot of different looks. And the quality is nice as well. The mattes blend it beautifully. Shimmers are impactful on your lid. I really like this. Not gonna be my favorite one ever. I'm not gonna reach for it all the time, but I like it a lot. Oh, I totally lied to you. I have another ColourPop quad. This is the last ColourPop quad, but it is my favorite of all of them, clearly, because it's ranked in 7th position. So this one is Beachy Keen. This is definitely a dupe for the Natasha Denona Mini Nude palette. They are so similar. These 2 mattes look exactly like 2 of the mattes in that palette, and these 2 shimmers look exactly like 2 of the 3 shimmers in the Natasha Denona Mini Nude, which that is one of my favorite palettes ever. Like truly, I love that palette with my whole heart. So if you wanted to try that one and you didn't want to spend the $27 on 5 shades, totally understand. You can spend like $10 or less because ColourPop's always on sale and get this one, which is essentially the same thing. Is it going to be as good quality? No, but this is still amazing quality. It's just a really nice neutral go-to everyday quad. I use this very often for work. If I don't know which eye look I want to use or what palette I want to use, I can reach for this. I know it's going to be reliable. The mattes are beautiful. The shimmers are stunning. They do look like they're going to be similar on your eyes in the pan, but they actually do show up different. So this really is the last quad, but clearly I really love these quads. Alrighty, in 6th place, we have the ABH Nouveau palette. This one is very beautiful. I didn't end up loving it as much as I thought I was going to. However, I feel like that's a mental block thing. Like I look at it and I'm like, I don't know. And then whenever I actually apply it to my eyes, I always love the looks that I make. My only qualm about this is the color story isn't as cohesive as I would maybe want it to be. Like the mattes and the shimmers they chose are not necessarily ones that I would choose. But again, I always like the looks that I make when I use this palette. And it's typical ABH quality. The mattes are beautiful. The shimmers, thick, chunky. They're gonna have some fallout on your face, be careful. But if you go in with a light layer and use glitter glue, they're gonna look really beautiful and impactful on your eyelids. So I just love these type of tones, these like greens, the khaki colors, even these like more pinky sort of shades. This palette really is beautiful. I really do enjoy it. It's just, I couldn't rank it any higher than 6th. Kicking off my top 5, in 5th place, we have the Laura Lee Los Angeles Nudie No. 2 palette. This is a really underrated palette in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it, but it is stunning and beautiful. This color story is one that I reach for very often. Like these are shades I feel very comfortable in. I don't really have to think twice when I make an eye look with it. I feel like all these palettes up here at the top, I'm kind of saying the same thing over and over. I'm kind of a broken record repeating myself, but it's all the reasons I love these palettes. If you had your eye on this, I definitely recommend. Also, Laura Lee Los Angeles has sales very often on her page. So like you wouldn't have to pay full price for this if you didn't want to. So definitely an underrated palette in my opinion that needs more love. Next up in 4th place, we have the ColourPop Bare Necessities palette. This is one of their larger palettes, obviously, as you can see. This one and So Jaded are the only larger ones I have. But honestly, after trying this one, I kind of want to get more. This was sent to me in PR, which I was really, really grateful for. When I first got this in the mail and opened it up, I almost gave it away to a friend just because as you're looking at this palette, it's all neutral tones, which I really just don't need more of in my collection, but I am really glad I kept it because it's a beautiful palette. I like that there's quite a bit of variety in here as well. You have some cool tones up here at the top. You also have some maroon burgundy shades, some warmer like orangey tones down here. So you can get a lot of different looks out of this. And this is the ColourPop quality that I am here for. This one and all those quads are the quality from them that I come to expect. The mattes are beautiful. The shimmers are beautiful. I always like my look when I use this palette. It's a little overwhelming because of how large it is, but they all are so cohesive that it's really easy to make a look. I love this palette. I definitely recommend, especially if you can snag it on sale. In third place, we have the Natasha Denona Glam Face Palette. This is such a beautiful palette. I know it's a face palette, so it has a cream blush and a highlight in it as well. I don't really use the cream blush. Every once in a while, I'll dabble in this highlight, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about these 5 eyeshadows down here. This is the best Natasha Denona quality I have ever tried. I don't know why she doesn't have this quality in all her other palettes. It is truly amazing. The 3 mattes are so buttery, smooth, and soft. They blend together like a dream. You don't even need to try. Like, you don't even need to put effort into blending these mattes because they just blend together. And these 2 shimmers are seriously some of the most wham bam thank you ma'am shimmers I have in my collection. I love using them. They're very neutral tone. They're very everyday friendly. Like, you look at this and you're like, there's nothing exciting about those shades, which it's not. You're right. They're not exciting, but they are good go-tos. They're ones I reach for very often. And again, these 2 shimmers, I cannot express to you enough how just stunning they are on the eyelids. I am so glad I picked this up. I don't really use this half of the palette, like I said, but these 5 make it 1000% worth it. All right, my number 2 and number 1 palettes. I feel like you guys are gonna maybe know what they are because I rave about them all the dang time here on my channel. In the number 2 palette, we have the Pat McGrath and Bridgerton first collab. This is the Mothership Diamond of the First Water. I don't know what it is about this dang palette, but I just love it so stinking much. Truly, this one is the only one that I'm like, I could take it or leave it. It's just a typical shimmer, nothing special about it. All the other 5 shades, absolutely stunning. This matte is beautiful. It's not too deep. I mean, it looks pretty deep in the pan, but I can like sheer it out and make it a transition shade and then pack it on my lid if I need to like deepen up the outer corner. This shade, the shimmer shade, one of my favorite shimmer shades I have in my collection. It just looks so beautiful. And one of my favorite looks to make with this palette is just these 2 shades right here. Super easy, fast, simple, quick, love them. These 2 right here are her satin matte shades. I don't know why she doesn't have them in more palettes. She has 1 more in the second collab, but they are so soft and smooth on the eyelids. They're one of her best formulations. I wish she would bring it out in more. And then this special shade is just super glittery and beautiful, and I love it. I love using this palette. I don't think it's available anymore, sadly. I wish it was, but honestly, if you wanted to get your hands on it, you had ample opportunity. She brought it back multiple times, but if she ever brings it back again and you were thinking about it, you were on the fence, just get it. I love it. I love it so much. I love this palette. It is absolutely stunning. And my number 1 palette. I definitely gave you guys hints. I mentioned this palette in quite a few videos throughout the year saying that it was on track to being my favorite palette of 2022, and it lived up to that for the rest of the year. And it is my favorite palette. I have reached for this palette so stinking much. And it is the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 2 Rose Palette. This palette is just one of the most beautiful palettes I've ever used in my life. Every time I use it, I feel absolutely stunning. Kind of like the first one. I don't use these creams over here. A little bit of a bummer because it's a pricey palette and there's like 2 shades I don't use. But again, the mattes, super blendable, creamy, smooth, doesn't get patchy on me. I love the tones he chose for them. And then these 5 shimmers on top, stunning. They are a little hunky chunky. You do have to be careful. I would definitely do your eyes first. I would definitely use a glitter primer or glitter glue with them, because you really want them to adhere to your lid. And sometimes they can be a little chunky. Like if I go in with too much, if I'm just really vibing with the shimmer I chose and I'm trying to like pack it on and I put too much on, it will have a little bit of fallout on your face. But the dimension and the sparkle and just how absolutely stunning these shimmers are on your eyelids make this palette worth it to me. I love it. I love the color story. I love the tones. I think they're flattering on my fair skin. Everything about this palette. It's truly stunning, beautiful. I've used it 1,000 times. Pretty much all the embossings on the matte shades are gone. They used to have PT on them for Patrick Ta. And then I don't know if you can tell the dips in these shimmers. I use this all the time. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. And that was it, you guys. That was my 2022 palette ranking. All 46 palettes that I tried this year and where I ranked them. Let me know down below in the comments, have you tried any of these palettes? Do you agree with me? Do you not? Do you love them? Do you hate them? I am nosy. You guys know I love hearing from you guys down below in the comments. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. You're awesome and I love you. Please subscribe if you have not yet, and hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.